So it's just to show a close-up for cutting the corners. So we've got our straight edge and our right angle, and we just want to make this a slightly rounded corner. So we're just going to take the knife, and you're going to think about doing 3 little angles. So 1, and then across the little bit. So I'm going to lay it down and do it there, taking a tiny fraction of it off for the first action, and then you're going to go to each of those corners and take another small amount off. So 3 cuts, and you've got that rounded look going on. What you can do before you go to slicking it is just to make sure there's no too many jagged edges from those cuts. Just gently give it a little bit of sand with some fine grit. This is a 120 grit sandpaper. Just all you're doing really is just sort of taking off some of those harder cut marks, and there you have a nice rounded corner ready for edging. And just to show you a close-up of getting the strip ready for the buckle, we've got our markings on there with our 2 holes and our slit. So what you want for your prong is whatever your width of your buckle is here, that's the length your slot generally is. Or, I mean, it's a little bit arbitrary, but it's just to allow this movement between the 2. So if I've got quite a thin band and a thin prong, I might go slightly smaller than that width, but it's just a general good rule of thumb. So we're just going to take our hole punch, make our hole through. If you need to, put a piece of leather underneath. And before I start joining those together, I'm going to take my skiver off because it will be easier to do my get my hole neat once I've skived. So I've got my fabric. I need this to fold over nicely, and I need to have this thinner so that when it folds back I've got less bulk in the way. So the way I'm going to do that, you can either have a super skiver, or we're going to use this safety beveler. I've got a new blade in. Now they do go, let's just go down a little bit. They do go down quite sharp when you've got a new blade in, so it's best to start with a lighter pressure and work away. So start from the base hole there, and just keep sort of working. It's kind of hard on the bridle leather to get it started sometimes, so just kind of try and lift bits of it up until you've got down to the veg underneath. So we're just sort of taking slices away, and then once we've got it sort of roughed up a little bit, sorry, I'm going to use my right hand, you can just kind of almost keep rubbing it over and picking bits of it up. I'm swapping hands, sorry. There we go. Now I've got a fair bit of the leather off there. You can see it's a little bit still not quite even. I've got a little bit there. Any bits that I'm a little bit don't want to go too far off at this point, I'm just going to literally give a scrape over with a knife, just to make sure I don't take too much away. And then as a final thing, just to really get this a lot more level, again, going back to the sandpaper. Got a little bit there, I'll just remove that. And that just smooths it back down. Now if I hold that up, you can probably see it's a lot floppier and bendier. And then what we're going to do to help that go around the buckle is we're going to wet that. So I've just got some water on my finger and I want to just wet around where that buckle's going to go. And fold those over so those holes line up. The water in the back of that leather will ease that fold, and then just squeeze it together when you've got the buckle holes lined together. Okay, so you can see now that you've got a much neater fold from when we were trying to do it from there, the difference. Now that'll dry nice and neat, but before it dries we're just going to get our slot put in. So using the ruler, line the ruler up to the edge of both holes. I'm working from the back here, but you could equally work from the top, and just take it slowly, because what you don't want to do is you want to be going up to the hole and not going too far beyond it. And this is where these precision craft knives are great, giving you a little bit of control. So what you can do with the precision craft knife too is to get the tip of the blade in and then angle down with a bit of pressure and work along, rather than drag the whole knife down. And then that should give you your slot to come out. Now you can buy slot punches if you were doing lots and lots and this was going to be your big thing. You might want to buy a punch that punches out your oblong slot. But I like to show you how to do it, because this gives you the option for doing it on all sorts of different sizes of straps, whether you're doing a belt or whether you're doing a wrist strap. So from here we're going to put the buckle in. So we want to just have a look at the buckle, and you'll see that there's where the prong folds over. You want that to be the top, so that you know that's your top. So you know that you want that to be coming when you folded it over. You want that to be in that position. So if you hold it carefully, open out the leather, lift the prong up, drop it through and thread, then you know that you've got your buckle the right way up, which is quite important. So from here we can then put our holes in to rivet this in place, and add our keepers and whatever else we want to do. So, making a keeper. You have a piece of leather in your kit, which is this oil tan brown, a little strip, and we're going to work out the keeper. So we've got our belt strap here. So we want to fold this round, and you want to have a piece that goes almost up to that side there. Think of it as thirds if you like, and then over. Pull it nice and tight, and because this is oil tan, when you press it you're going to leave some marks on it. You might just want to, when you're holding it down here and you've got it to the right length, maybe make a little scratch just to show where you're going to cut it, and you want to be coming a little bit inside the top of there, and that's how you work out your length. It's important that you do your keepers when you know you've got these two bits here, but you're also, the whole point is that it's going to thread through. So that's why by doing it almost a complete third, it will meet in the middle by the time you get your extra piece to go over. If we just get a piece in place, you'll see what I mean. So we've now got that there, pull that down, and that's meeting in the middle. So it needs to be sort of not snug, but not too tight that you can't get your strap it through it, because that's the whole point of the keeper. So if you fold them down now, get them to overlap in the middle there. Give them a little press to set those creases. And we're going to make a little hole in each end. So it's a hole that we want to be able to stitch through. So you can use your awl or your smallest little hole in your stitch punch set. So it's just that. And then with a piece of length of thread, don't need a very long piece, maybe just about that much thread. Essentially what we want to do is to catch these two bits together, and then they will be sealed up inside the belt loop. So thread the needle and take it double and put a knot in the end. As so. Just make sure it's tight. And then what we're going to do is fold them over. It's a little fiddly, but this is a fairly simple way compared to lots of other ones I've seen. So put the needle through the centre hole, so you're kind of keeping the keeper together. Take it through and then drop it down through that loop that you've made with your knot. And then when you pull that first one tight, you can tuck the knot inside, but you've got kind of a stitch that's pulled those two together. And then if you take the needle through to the other side, you can come back down through the centre again. And put an equivalent stitch in that side. If you want to make it a bit more secure, you can do that once more with either one. I'm just going to go through the centre one more time from the left side. This is just a recap of the Skills 2 projects that we did today. So you're looking at the firm calf leather that you had in the pack, which was this sort of smooth finish. I think some of them were navy and some were brown. And you have a piece of suede. The tools you need for this project: you need your cutting knife, you need a rivet setter, you need a stitching chisel, groover, set to 5mm. It has a little screw here, so you need to set that to 5mm. All of the projects we'll be doing will be using that setting. And a lump of beeswax, plus your mallet. If you have one, a ruler. If you have a steel square, even better. And you'll need your solid block and pounding board to do this project. So to start with, you'll find your glasses case template, and you need to cut that out of the paper. We do also have acrylic ones for sale online, a solid acrylic, which are really nice to work around, and you get really good results time after time. So there's your main body, and at the top of it, the facing, and a little piece for your nose holder. And you will also need some glue. So these are the steps. Step 1 is to cut out a piece of this from the top of your firm calf leather. So take it as near to the top, looking for the position, draw around it on the back of the leather and cut that piece out. Once that's done, the remaining leather that you have left and the suede you need to glue together. So if you fold them over, here's one I've done earlier, you need to tip some glue into your pot, and using a spreader is best. Or you can use the red childhood little red spreaders, or you can make your own using a bit of a yogurt pot, so something firm that you can spread and scrape that glue. You'll need to work quite quickly, get coverage over the leather, and then if you put a little bit on both sides as well, it works. Even though this isn't a contact leather glue we're using the Leather Weld or the Beebing's Leathercraft cement. Putting a bit on both sides means you're going to be more likely to get a bond and not miss any parts. So drop the suede down, press it down and over, stretch, and with the end of any of your tools you can just rub over, or using a bone folder, and just smooth and stretch that out. You want to get contact across all of it, and it's not even a bad idea to give it a bit of a tap, just to really get that bonded. And then ideally you need to leave that to cure. For best results you need to leave it to cure for a good 4 hours or so. For this project we carried on, but if you're making these again at home, I'd leave it a bit longer to cure off. Once that's all done, you can then transfer and cut out your main body of your piece. Now you'll notice that the suede is a little bit coming a little bit narrow, so you'll just need to position the template so that you're catching as much of that corner of the suede as you can. The suede pieces are a little bit smaller than the calf pieces, but those are the bits that are going to fold up and stitch and be hidden inside. So position your card holder, cut that out. Out of the bits that you'll have left out, you'll have enough from those to have a little lined piece that can be your nose holder, and it's up to you. You can put the nose holder in with the suede up or the firm calf up, so that when you look in the case, that's what you see. So when you've got your glasses case, you want to look at where the markings are for the magnets. So on the facing piece of leather that you've now got, you'll see there's a magnet there. This is the male part of the magnet with a little knob in that sticks out. So if you take your magnet pack, you'll need to put two, if you use the little circle disc that comes with it, position it over the right place in the template, make two little slits where those marks are on the little washer, if you like. Use that as your guide, push the magnet through. Onto the reverse of it, you'll have your prongs coming up, pop your little washer, fold those bits down, and that's the magnet in your facing. From here you can then go to groove and stitch your facing. Your next stage is to do your stitch line. So your stitch line, you're going to make a groover across that top curve on the outside, so on the firm calf and on the facing, and then you're going to make your chisel holes. And when you make your chisel holes, you want to start your holes from butting the chisel up like so, and move along. And when you come to do the other side on your other piece, you want to lay this down and just mark out, maybe with a little bit of the knife, just to put a little dot through the first hole, just so that you're making sure that it's going to be in position. So make sure that your facings will be, lay it down over the top of the suede, and just take a little mark through, just to make sure it's that all your stitch holes are going to line up. So then you're going to groove your line, make your stitch holes, and stitch together using saddle stitch, and that puts the facing on. Saddle stitch. Once your facing is stitched on and your top magnet is in, take a look at the rest of the leather piece that you have, and where you've got these angles coming here, that's going to give you your fold line. So take your leather and very gently press it over, and just gently press it down, particularly pressing at the edges here. And if you can use the end of an awl or your bone folder, just the rounded bit, just to press those down. That's just going to give you your guideline for your template. And once you've got that line, that will be the line that you're going to punch two holes in, and that's going to give you your rivet holes. In the 3003 punch set, it's the size number 2 for rivets, and on the rotary punch it's the second size up. But you can do a test in a piece of leather first, push a rivet through and make sure it's the right size, and we're using the small silver rivets for this. Once you've done that, you can then get your nose folder and you can fold that up and rivet that in place. So it should end up bowed up like that. Then again, mark for this magnet coming here. So on the suede will be where the washer comes out, and this side will be where the female side of the magnet is. So using the same principles as you did earlier with the magnet, place the magnet in position. Once that's in position, you'll have a little metal bit coming through on this back piece here. So if you have a little bit of the scrap suede, you can peel a little bit back off from the where you've glued it down. Just cut yourself a little oval shape, quite a little bit bigger than the magnet itself, and it can be advisable just to sand, if you have a little bit of sandpaper, just to sand off that metal of the magnet, just to allow the suede to key to it and glue to it. And just glue on a little piece of a cover. It's going to be hidden inside, so it'll be quite discreet, but it's just nice not to have the metal showing, and especially if you've got glasses going in there, you don't want anything that's going to scratch. So covering up that little bit of magnet is a good principle to do whenever you're doing, if you're using those for doing phone cases or anything else. And with this very thin suede, it goes on really discreetly, so you'll see that when you come to do that. So you've now got your casing, your facing on, you've now got your magnet and your nose holder done. So you just want to take these pieces up and mark from there to there with your stitch groover. If I turn it that way up so you can see on the picture. And once you've got those stitch grooved and chisel holes in, you can either glue just down that bit and keep them in position and then mark through and pierce through those holes, or take the chisel and lining it up into those holes, hammer through and get your chisel holes onto the back of here, and then it's literally just a case of stitching your two sides together and you're done. You'll notice with these firm calf that they can be chrome and they have a grey on the inside, so you might want to neaten and finish your edges, and you can see the separate video for edge finishing for that. If you want something simple to do on it, you can just take a little cotton bud or a little paintbrush, run some dye over it and then just lightly wax over the edges as a simple edge finish. And that's the glasses case.